All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast real estate tip. And today I'm going to walk you through how to scale up the buyer side of your real estate business every bit as effectively and efficiently as the list side of your business. Look, my whole entire 20-year career, I've heard crap like, oh man, you want to become a mega agent, you got to master the listing side, you got to, for things like, oh, you got to list to last, all that crap that we've all heard. And there was a point in time in my career where I bought into that stuff. And there was a point in time where, this was just lack of knowing, where that made sense to me and it was legitimate, right? Meaning that, okay, I could handle as an individual agent, maybe an individual agent with one assistant or an individual agent, okay, you can handle 30, 40, 50 listings at once, but you can't necessarily handle 30, 40, 50 buyers at once. But with the knowledge that we have now, like we know that, okay, we can absolutely, I'm going to walk you through this here today, you can absolutely scale up the buy side of your business every bit as much as the list side of your business. Now, I'm not here to tell you to go after buyers versus sellers. To me, like, dude, I get asked this all the time. Well, what's your methodology? Do you like listings better than you do buyers? And I'm like, look, dude, I shift based on the market. There are times where my real estate business has been like 90% sellers, 10% buyers. There's been times where it's been, 70% buyers, 30% sellers. I shift with the market. Like in a seller's market, yeah, I want a bunch of listings. In a buyer's market, like I might want more buyers and have more of a buyer focus than the listing business. So my personal methodology is, look, I want closings. I want commission checks. I'm going to go after where the biggest opportunity is at to go out there and scale my business. And it's one of the ways I've been able to scale my business every single year for 20 years straight and sell over 7,000 homes. But with this, there's 3 reasons as to why you might want to focus on the buy side of your business. Okay, number 1, if you go out there and interview, and this probably holds true for your own business, but if you go out there and interview pretty much every top of the top, agent in this industry, and there's always exceptions to the rule. I get that, I understand, but I'm saying the vast majority, if you interview them and ask, okay, where's the majority of your repeat referral business come from? It's from the buy side. The buy side is much more relationship based, right? Plus, okay, those buyers then end up becoming sellers, right? And they kind of repeat that process. But it's like 90% of agents out there, team leaders will tell you that the vast majority of their repeat referral business comes from the buy side business. Or came from what originated as a buyer in the business, right? It's like, sellers, again, it's more business, it's more transaction, where it's like buyers do, like, they're inviting to their, barbecues, kids' birthday parties, like you kind of become a part of the family. So if you look at this from a long-term, lifetime value of a customer is going to be higher on average from the buy side of your business versus the sell side. So that's number 1 of why you might want to, be able to focus and scale up buyers. Number 2 is with market shifts. Talking with a coaching client of mine this morning, he's in a market similar to mine, where listings are stacking, right? It's shifted very quickly into a buyer's market, where listings are kind of a pain in the ass. It's like, you go on a listing appointment, they want $750,000 or $700,000, where it's like, no, I might be lucky to get you $625,000, but they're still in their head, we're still, they're in their head, they're thinking still peak pricing, right? So, okay, it's, it gets to a point where it could be a pain in the ass with getting price right. Okay, stacking markets, days on market. Like in my market, you got 81 days average on market. You only got 69% of listings actually selling. Where right now, okay, buyers are in full control. Like I can go out there and get a great buyer that's pre-qualified, that knows what they want. Go find them a great deal. They're in the the buyer seat. So I'm talking with him this morning, and we're just talking about, hey, what are the buyer opportunities at your market? And does it make sense, because he's got a team, and does it make sense to start to shift some of your focus allocation on the buy side of the business? And again, I've never wanted to tell anybody that, hey, you should focus on buyers versus sellers, sellers versus buyers. There's different reasons why it's different strategy. But for me and my business, about a year ago, working with my team is like, hey guys, at that point in time, we were like 70% sellers, 30% buyers. I'm like, hey guys, like we need to shift. Like I want to flip this equation. And this was about a year ago, right? Because the market was quickly transitioning from a seller's market to a buyer's market, like just going through enough of these transition changes, like again, seeing where the opportunities are at. And that's what I focus on. I'm like, I want to shift this when it comes to new client acquisition. Obviously, past client repeat referral business, that's going to be what it is. I'm talking about for new client acquisition, I'm like, hey, I want to focus, we're going 70% of our time allocation to buyers, 30% onto sellers, because buyers, again, they're just in the driver's seat right now. It's quicker money, they're easier, they're much easier, right? There's more leverage there, they're in control. Okay, so number 3 is maybe you just enjoy working with buyers better. I get so many that will reach out to me like, oh, Josh, I really want to grow a team, but man, I just really love working with buyers. I don't really like working with sellers. I'm like, whatever makes you think that you can't grow and scale the shit of a team, being more buyer focused. So maybe you just like working, like maybe you're just better. You connect with better, you enjoy it better, you're just better with the buy side of the business. So then there's other reasons, but those are kind of a few reasons as to why you might want to go out there and consider this. All right, so now I want to walk you through okay, how do we scale this up? Because I get it. Right? Like juggling a dozen buyers is very challenging, right? Well, juggling a dozen listings isn't very challenging. So I get the whole scalability side. So we're going to solve that here today. So I'm going to walk you through how to go out there and scale this up. But before I do so, make sure to check out gsdmode.com for more additional free resources, more additional free training. And on there, I highly invite you and encourage you to schedule a 100% free Zoom coaching strategy call with me personally. This gives us 60 minutes together, just one-on-one, you and I, fully private, fully confidential, just going to be you and me, where we're able to do a deep dive in your business, where your business is currently at, what your 12-month goals are, what your long-term goals and visions are, what you're currently doing, what your biggest obstacles are. Then from there, I'm going to map out what my recommended best strategy is for you to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. And you have my word on this, that you will not leave this free Zoom strategy coaching call without knowing exactly what you must do to get from where you're at to where you want to go. I'm going to eliminate all of that guesswork so you're able to be extremely focused. It's one of the biggest issues that I see so many struggling with right now is their focus is so diluted. There's never been a point in time in this industry where there's been more things available for us to go out there and do to create success. But that's the problem is there's so many damn different things to do. And then you go listen to all these different podcasts and, whatever it was, this is the best, this is the best, this is the best. And they're sharing all these different strategies and look, it all can be effective. It all can work. I'm not saying it's bad information. What I'm saying is you need to hone in your focus and identify the best strategy for you based on your personal situation, based on your financial situation, based on your goals, based on your market. And that's what this strategy session is available for. 100% free, no strings attached, just me to give back to all of you, amazing GSD Mode podcast listeners and supporters, and how I can help give back to all the support that you've given me over the years. So that's something you want to take advantage of. Go to www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. Okay, so as we talked about how to scale up the buy side, just like the listing side. So I'm going to walk you through an example of one of my agent partners. So started off as a transaction coordinator for me. Then she jumped into the real estate side, very quickly, became rookie of the year, very quickly became my number one agent, then went just build her team, build her own brokerage, recently just moved the brokerage to come partner with me over here at EXP. And she's just a beast. So her name's Nalika. Having a conversation with her the other day about this. And so if you look at this, okay, the vast majority of her business, not that she doesn't do a decent amount of listings, but the vast majority of her business over the years has been buy side. Now, if you look at this too, so she's on track this year to do about 70 closings, just herself, not counting her agents, just herself. And again, the majority of that's going to be buy side business. But she's like, dude, this is pretty much part-time for me at this point. And now Nalika takes more vacations in a year than I do, I think I have my whole life. Her husband or family will take 15, 20 vacations a year. That's their thing. They like to travel. So she had to figure out, well, how do I build my business, even on the buy side, where it allows me to go out there and travel, where, while I'm traveling, I can still work, but I can work virtually from my laptop, where the hotel room or the beach or wherever can be my office. So she really had to crack this code of this, what we call the showing agent model. And I just want to kind of share her story with you guys just to show the results that this can come into place. So you look at somebody now that's going to close, on track to close 70 transactions this year, pretty much working part-time, probably will take a dozen, if not 24 vacations, and be able to set this up, even though the majority of her business is buy-side transactions. And how is she able to do this is she is scaled up to where she's got multiple different showing agents inside of her business. I was having a conversation with her the other day, and she was like, yeah, the average showing agent that she has inside her team that are, work exclusively for her, make between $300 to $500 per closing. So we're not talking about adding buyer's agents that you go out there and have to split this deal with 50-50. We're talking about, she's going out there doing all the lead gen, like a lead follow-up, lead gen, or you can have an ISA doing that for you if you want. But, so essentially what she's doing and how she scaled this up, every bit like the listing side, is, she jumps on, does the consult. So when she does it, all these via Zoom, we'll do the Zoom buyer consultation. And she set that up intentionally so then she can, whether she's, here local or traveling, everything's the same, right? So, buyer consult done virtually via Zoom, right? So does the buyer consult, treats the buy side just like the list side, right? So you got a dialed in world-class buyer consultation. So she'll do the consult, get them qualified, get the buyer broker agreement signed, then boom, from there, introduce them to the showing agents, showing specialists. They then do all the boots on the ground, door openings, all the things that need to be done that are, not just opening doors for showings, but inspections and whatnot, right? But then from there, once they identify the property, then she steps back and does the negotiations, right? So when you start there and looking at this, right? So that is just like when we take a listing. We go on the listing appointment, right? Then, we get the listing, get on the market, let all the other agents go do all the showings, do all of that, right? Then we're negotiating contracts, negotiating the offer, and then boom, whether you have a TC or you're handling the contract to close. So this allows you to scale this up massively. Like you could be doing 6 buyer broker agreement meeting or, 6 buyer consultations every single day, like you would be listing presentations. Not saying that everyone wants to do 6 a day, but I'm just saying that you can scale this up in the same way. So, when it comes to bringing on showing agents, so there's just some key things I want to make sure that you understand so that way you don't accidentally screw this up. So you got to get very clearly defined on what their role is inside of your business, right? So most that I coach that run this model, they're going to be, again, that showing agent is going to come into place once we got the buyer, a buyer client. And what I classify as a buyer client is ready, willing, able, committed, right? So we got them either proof of funds or they've been pre-approved, qualified, buyer broker agreement in place. Then at that point, that's where they start getting introduced. So we're going to have a conversation in a meeting, about exactly what the buyer's looking for, go through their dream home form so they know exactly, so they have an idea of that, right? Introduce them to the client. And then, of course, explain to the client, which I'll get into here in a minute, of what this showing agent's role is. But they're going to take over all the showings, right? So they're going to go out there and show all the properties, whatever. And then once the buyer finds the one, right, that's where I'm going to get back involved. Go out there, write the offer, run with it from there. To do all the negotiations, get on a contract. Now, not all, but most of my coaching clients that run this model also use their showing agents for if they got to be there, if the buyer wants to be present for the home inspection, or if they want to jump in and get measurements, or, essentially anytime that door needs to be open and the buyer needs access to that door, inside that property, that's like the showing agent's responsibility, right? But there's different ways that you can run this. I have some coaching clients that are compensate a little bit higher on this, right? Where it's kind of like, from client inception all the way through closing, I want you to run with it. And the compensation is going to be higher, but then the showing agent is not just doing showings, but they're also writing the offers. My recommendation with that, though, is to not do that until you make sure that you've got the right person in place for that. So then the different ways to go out there and compensate a showing agent. And just so you guys know, showing agents, even though it's classified, the name title in this industry, showing agent, doesn't need to be just for showings. So one of my coaching clients, he runs a team in Florida, but lives in the Netherlands. So we got to utilize these kind of licensed boots on the ground assistants, right? Not just for buyers, but also, hey man, if there's shit that needs to happen on a listing. So you can leverage them also for, listing stuff that you need to. Different ways to compensate them. So depends on how deep you are into this. But you can pay an hourly wage, So let's just say, okay, hey, I know I've got 40 hours a week for this person. I'm going to pay them an hourly wage, and that's going to differentiate if you're in Phoenix versus San Francisco versus Miami versus New York City versus, I don't know, Oklahoma City. Like there's going to be, based on what the average wage is, and cost of living can differentiate what pay is going to be on this. But you can pay them hourly, you can pay them salary. You can pay them per closing at the closing. I have a lot of coaching clients that will start there with that. You can also or compensate them a small percentage of the closing. I will tell you that average ends up being around $500 to $1,000 though. Whichever way that you pay per closing that you have. Now, for those like Nalika that runs a very efficient model, and hers might be a little bit less than that. But she's so damn efficient, so damn good with her systems and processes. So hers is more like that 300 to 500 range. But most that I see, it's going to average out no matter whether you're paying at closing and a bonus at closing, or if you're paying hourly or per door, or there's different ways to compensate. Usually averages between 500 and 1,000, depending on what your price point is and what market that you're in. Okay, so then from there, you got to make sure that you nail. So just a couple last things here to make sure that you have success with this. And there's so much that goes into this. I mean, this is, when coaching clients are setting this up, it can be, a lot of conversation that we have to entail that we can't just cover here in a podcast. But, things that I just want to plant the seed in your mind so you can go out there and explore this further. Okay, so then you want to make sure you are nailing the pass off. People do not want to feel like they're being passed off, right? So you want to make this when you're introducing the showing agent, right? Like so you're leading the process, right? You want to make this part of your process, your education process, but you want to articulate how this is of value to them and their benefit. So, hey, here's what we do. Here's why we do it. Here's how this is, here's why this benefits you, right? So you got to make sure that they understand why this is powerful for them, why this is important for them, why this is making it a better overall experience for them. So then that way they don't feel, so instead of this feeling like a pass off, it's like, no, this is more of a luxury experience to ensure that you are, not only we accomplish your real estate goals, but we want to make sure that this is the best possible experience for you. And that's why we're running this model, right? So you want to make sure that you're passing it off, communicating that properly to them. Okay, then lastly, you want to make sure that you are structuring your communication process and just overall processes. Like you need to have these in place, right? Because, okay, obviously they're in the field, property by property. So my recommendation, have some type of communication process in every single property that they're showing, right? Obviously, once they find the one, but you want to be in consistent communication with that showing agent on how to schedule these properties, their communication with the client, each experience that they're having with showing a property, right? So you're always on the same page together. It becomes really important. And this is why you really want to have your internal processes really dialed in when it comes to this. So making sure you get communication process and just your overall processes really honed in and dialed in, so everybody's always on the same page. And again, working like you're working together, collaborating together. No different than, okay, if I've got a transaction coordinator working my files, okay, we're going to have a very strict step-by-step protocol, step-by-step process that they're following, right? We're always going to have a communication protocol where I always know what's going on. They always know what's going on. We know where we're at, what next steps are, right? Like we make sure that we have a very transparent process on that. We're always on the same page. Everybody can see everything that's going on. No different here, right? So you want to make sure that you've honed in and dialed those in. So those are really kind of the four biggest, tips to make sure that you nail this and do this right. If you're wanting to scale up this portion of your business, but it's something that I highly encourage you, to go out there and do. Because look, if you just want to be, hey, I just want to focus on listings. Okay, cool. But how much business are you losing by not working with buyers or taking on buyers, right? So your majority of your time allocation could be still sellers, but then if you don't want to work with buyers, okay, scaling something up like this, it's going to be a hell of a lot more profitable versus then you just divvying out those buyers for referrals. Right? Or shooting those off with some type of, whether it be a 50-50 split or 25% referral fee, so just food for thought, something that I highly encourage you to really consider inside your real estate business. All right, so as we wind up here again, make sure to check out gsdmode.com for more additional free resources, more additional free training. And as I mentioned earlier, I highly encourage you to jump on a one-on-one Zoom strategy coaching call with me personally, where we can do a deep dive in your business, break down your business, and I can support and help you at the highest level, making sure that you've got the most effective strategy plan in place to ensure you get from where you're at to where you want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner possible. You can do that at www.gsdmode.com/Zoom call. I hope this has been helpful. Keep crushing it. Keep kicking ass. I'll see you next time. Peace.